My name is Kristen Baumgartner, and I'm with Baracus Blum Computer Consulting. Today, I'll be reviewing the Paperless Office module for Sage 100. Baracus Blum Computer Consulting has been selling and implementing Sage products for over 30 years and is one of the top Sage 100 solution providers in the country. We are dedicated to helping our clients continuously improve and have industry expertise that comes from years of experience and real-world knowledge. In today's presentation, I'll be reviewing what Sage 100 Paperless Office is used for, the Paperless Office viewer options, and examples of document processing. Sage 100 Paperless Office can be used to create and house electronic copies of registers, journals, and documentation. And if you choose, you can secure those electronic copies with viewer access rights. Paperless Office can also be used to email and fax documents to customers, vendors, and employees. Sage 100 Paperless Office is part of your Sage 100 install and can be used by all customers that would like to eliminate paper copies of their registers, journals, and reports, or if you're just looking for an easier way to email documentation. Let's take a look at what the solution looks like in our Sage environment. On the left-hand side, I have access to my Sage 100 modules. Paperless Office is one of the modules I have access to based on my security permissions. If you are in a Sage 100 supported version, you already own Paperless Office, and if you do not see this option, it might be just a security permission. In order to start using Sage 100 Paperless Office, you will need the Sage 100 PDF converter installed on your workstation. This should already be completed when the Baracus Blum team installs the workstation. Paperless Office does require setup. As this is an overview recording, we will not be covering all the setup details in this video. Once those Paperless Office options and your forms are set up, one additional piece, if you will be emailing out documentation, is in your library master and company maintenance. Your email must be set up as well. Here in this example of my demo company on tab 6 under email, I have my email already structured and set up. This is also where you're able to test emails if you do want to send out a test once you have everything set up. If some of that emailing includes forms to customers, vendors, or employees, you're also going to want to make sure that your options are set up properly on those customer, vendor, and employee maintenance tasks. We're going to go through a few examples of document processing with Sage 100 Paperless Office. The first thing we're going to do are journals and registers, and we're going to use the posting of a receipt of goods for a transaction as an example. I'm going to start off in my purchase order module. I'm going to go to my receipt of goods entry, and I'm going to create a receipt for something I might be receiving today. I'm going to reference the purchase order number that I had previously set up. I'll go to my lines tab, and I'm going to receive some of this product in. Once I've done that, I accept my transaction, and our next step in normal processing would be to go to our daily receipt register and update. When I access this option, because I have Paperless Office already enabled in my environment, I don't need to do anything special. I don't need to change printers here at all. I choose to print the option, and when I get prompted to print in a PDF format, this is actually going to call up in a PDF version along with creation of my electronic copy. Now, as an example for our purposes today, I did create this as a password protected document. This is a setting option you can enable with Paperless Office. So if you didn't want certain employees getting access to journals and registers or to any other documentation without a password, that could be enabled. Once I properly enter my password, it does give me my journal, access to my journal, and it shows me that in a PDF. I've also created this in an electronic version, and we're going to review that in just a second with our Paperless Office viewer. Back on my Sage side, my next step would be to update my receipt of goods register and then process my daily transaction register. Now, because my daily transaction register is also set up with a paperless option, I don't actually need to do anything here. You saw my system just went through and processed that. So let's take a look at what we actually created. In the Sage Paperless Office module, we have under our main tab several different viewer options. We're going to look at the journal and register viewer. Here, we're able to look at everything that's been created. This can be sorted by company code, by your modules, by the type of documents. You can look at specific date ranges, and you're getting a lot of great information as long as an association to your company, your module, but you're also seeing who created these documents, which user login did, date and timestamps if you had associated documents with whatever you were creating. By choosing an option here, and I'm just going to sort it by our PDF creation date. So I'm going to take one of the last ones we created. When I look and highlight this document, my options on the side enable, and I'm actually able to drill right into that PDF. So again, this is password protected, so I do need to enter my password. But here I'm able to drill into any document. This saves us a lot of time. This saves us a lot of paper, especially if we're trying to house this information in paper records still. Now, we've looked at an example of creating a journal or a register. That's a standard just creation of an internal electronic document. The next example we're going to go into is actually looking at if we wanted to electronically send a document to a customer, a vendor, or an employee as an example. The ones that we're going to focus on is, again, I'm going to stay in the purchase order module, and we're going to electronically send a purchase order to one of our vendors. Now, before we actually start with that transaction, the first thing that we want to do is take a look at how our vendor is set up. So I'm going to go into our accounts payable, and I'm going to look at vendor maintenance. I'm going to focus on Airway Properties as our vendor that we're going to use for our examples. And on this More tab, this is where my paperless delivery options are set. Here, I have this vendor pre-set up to create a purchase order. It is being emailed to them. I can also choose to print it or to fax it. This is where I can also password protect that document. So if I wanted it password protected, my vendor would have to enter that password in order to access it. Because I'm emailing it, I do have email set up. And I want to point out that not only can you have your contact email address that it's coming from, but you are also able to add copies and BCCs also to this email when it generates as well. Now, if I'm going to be sending out a purchase order, usually I want a little bit of additional communication that would go with that purchase order. Going back to our paperless office options in our setup, we have electronic delivery message maintenance. This allows us to create a type of email that we want to go out and give us the option to what kind of text we want in here. Again, because we're focused on that PO, I'm going to look at my vendors. I'm going to look for the company code I'm working in. I'm going to specifically focus on purchase orders. And the document we're going to take a peek at is an order. This is an example of a template. One thing I do want to point out is you are able to add your own text here. You're also able to use Sage's merged fields, which means that you can enter information like the document number and dates. You can bring that into the document without having to manually enter it. It will auto create for you. You're also able to add things like images. So I have a banner down here for an image for my company logo and hyperlinks as well within your email templates. So we're going to create that purchase order now that we've had a chance to look at how our vendors set up, what documents they're receiving, along with our electronic template. Going back to my purchase order module, I'm going to do a purchase order entry. I'm going to create my next order. I'm going to use the vendor we've been focused on. And on my lines tab, I'm going to order my item from my vendor. Now, once I've entered this information, one of the things I can do is use my quick print here to trigger that electronic send. I do have to save my changes before I leave that. And you can see now in purchase order printing, I'm defaulting to a form code called Paperless. You can use your standard Sage form code here, but using Paperless allows you to set up some of these options and instead of having to reset them. It's just a nice little shortcut. Here on my Paperless Office output, this is how, again, I'm defaulting into how I want to send it, but I can choose to override that. Again, I can do electronic delivery only. I can choose to print it at the same time. I can PDF it, whatever my options are. Here, I'm going to be actually printing and creating the PDF is what I'm doing and electronically delivering it as well. There is also an icon here I just want to show really quickly. This helps confirm from the address that it's coming to, but a nice feature here is it allows you to associate documents if necessary. So here I'm going to drill in, and if there was an additional attachment, like maybe I needed to send a copy of a signed contract or maybe product information to that vendor with the purchase order, I can actually attach that in my email. When I click OK, I would then hit print. Print calls out to my system, contacts my email setup, and is going to be sending this electronically to myself because that's who I have it set up to so we can review this. So I'm connecting to my server and we'll be processing that email. You can see it does give you a confirmation. It tells you the number of attempted emails and how many were successfully delivered. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And I'm going to pop over to my email right now. And here is that email that just came through. So we just created this with today's date. Here is my template with all of my merged fields already merged in or already brought in. Here is that contract information that I also attached. And here is a copy of the actual PDF of my purchase order that was sent directly to this particular vendor. Now, we've reviewed how we can create journals and registers, and we took a look at that viewer. We've talked about electronic documents. These electronic documents can also be seen in our viewers within Paperless Office. So just to kind of give us an example, in Paperless Office, you can see again, journal and registers, report end, report viewers, customer viewer. So if I wanted to see associated sales orders and invoices, vendor viewer for my purchase orders, employee viewer if I was sending documents electronically like direct deposit information. We're going to again focus on that PO. So we're going to go into our vendor viewer, and I'm going to change my option from a check that was sent to this particular vendor to an order. And you can see all of the associated documents that I've created. Here is the one that we just created. Again, same feel. You can drill into these options and pull up that individual purchase order right from there without having to go and link through to the customer record or the vendor record. It's right at your fingertips. So this process for vendor purchase orders can also be done for additional documents, like you're talking about a customer and you want to see their sales order or their invoices. Those can be electronically delivered. And again, another example is if we were using it for employees, our direct deposit. This electronic process, it does save a lot of time, it saves a lot of postage, and it saves a ton of paper. And this is just by enabling a Sage 100 module that you already own in your Sage environment. This has been a brief overview of the Sage Paperless Office module. If you have additional questions, please reach out to the Baracus Plum Computer Consulting team, and we're happy to help.